Hey everybody, it's me, Alex, once again. And today we're going to be doing somewhat of a crisis of a topic, depending on who you are and if you like collecting physical media. Now, back in the day, when it was CDs, DVDs, when a game came out, that was it. That was a complete product. It was more than likely finished. There, of course, was garbage games. But most of the big companies that you see today, they released amazing, complete games. If they had bugs, they may release a greatest hits version with some of them fixed, which has been done before. But back then, they knew they couldn't just fix it after it was released, so they had to make sure it was done. And of course, games were less complicated back then to make. But regardless of that, that's what we get into today's physical media. Ever since the PS3 and 360 era, minus the Wii, the physical media thing has kind of been shaky because first you could get the game, the whole game, and you can play it, but then come the patches, which makes the game either playable, adds more stuff, just basically can also complete the game, which the biggest example of a game that came out was not complete, but was not complete until all the patches came out, and DLC, Final Fantasy 15. Yeah, I got this all the way back in 2016, and comparing version 1.0, which also it needed a day one patch, so those are always great too. It's completely different. So that's like a very rare case of a game just being completely overhauled, maybe Cyberpunk 2077. So those discs, sure, you own the game, but it's the buggier version, which is strange because back then, again, they finished games. Now they don't. They just say, fuck it, ship it out, fix it later. Now, I would forgive this practice if they would release a complete version with all the patches, all the DLC, everything in just one disc or cartridge, depending on the Switch, so it's preserved for years to come. But that doesn't seem to be the case, because there are some games, like, let me pull one off here that's complete right out the bat. I didn't need any patches. Okay, right here. Pocky and Rocky Reshrined. Sure, it's a small game, but even then, the entire game is on this disc. I tested it. I disconnected from the internet, installed it, booted it up. It was fine. Connected to the internet, checked for an update. No patches. Game is perfectly fine upon release date. That's how it should be. But of course, since this is a smaller game, I can see why it was so easy to do so. But if you are going to be releasing day one patches, by the way, why not just delay the game a few months so you can get those in there? Maybe think about that in advance. Because, come on, when you get your physical media now, especially in today's age on the PS5, it's not a complete game half the time. Call of Duty, they only put like a little bit of data on the disc, and then they just ship it out, and then you download the rest of the game from the internet. That's disgusting. I hate that. So that's always fun. And then you have on disc DLC, which is also a bigger problem than it should be. Well, not really a bigger problem. It was a big problem with Destiny 1, but that was really weird. But again, these games are coming out incomplete, so even physical media for games now is somewhat irrelevant. It's relevant, but somewhat irrelevant. The only reason why it's still relevant is because once you have that game, you own that disc. It's like this is a license on the disc. It downloads all the data, if it's on there, onto the console without internet, and then you own it. But again, patches. Now, sure, you can just download the patch right now. But what about 20, 30 years from now when the PlayStation 3, PlayStation 4, that era of gaming, those services are shut down? Because they're going to shut down. It's just a matter of time. Look at Nintendo with the eShop. Think about that. All those games that you downloaded are going to be gone if you delete them. Because they're going to shut the eShop down completely. Like, not the eShop, but like all the services completely. So you can't get your games back if they get deleted. That's great, isn't it? A big game right there that was a problem was Xenoblade Chronicles X. Now, sure, you can go get the game now, and it's still probably fun, but all the patches were on the eShop. So, unless you find a way to hack your Wii U, or find a way to download the patches online and get them onto your Wii U in some weird convoluted way, there's no way you're going to be able to play that game to the fullest potential that it should be at, or the greatest potential it could be. But no. Patches and digital games that you own are going to be gone and you can't get them back. It's more of a rental, if anything. Because Sony just recently, this made me kind of think about it a little bit more, I want to talk about it, is when they had their movie licenses, they were removed. So, not just like, okay, I get games being removed because of some issues. Okay. But if you put it back up, great. But if you can't, like Afterburner Climax, for example, that was unfortunate. I didn't get it. It was only up for like 5 years, so that's really weird. So they took that down, but you could still re-download the game if you already purchased it. Okay, so you still own the license. But the thing is, they had some movies run out of licenses, and you can't download them anymore. You can't even watch them anymore. They removed the ability for you to watch movies you purchased digitally. This is why we don't want to trust these companies with just an all-digital future. I may have made that mistake with the Switch, but it's just so much more convenient, and that's what they want you to be feeling. Making it more convenient rather than having to go out into the store to get a physical copy. Even though most of the time you're going to be going through Amazon anyway. And some people just don't want to wait a few days. I get it. Some people just want it right now, minute zero, but no, it's I think it's time that we need to stop embracing the digital future as much as we are, and start looking at physical media a little more seriously, because years from now, all these games are going to be off the store. They're going to be all gone. But these games are still here today to be played. So, yeah, and thankfully emulation is what's going to keep this gaming community, or just games in general, alive. There are games out there from the 80s that nobody knows about that have been saved from emulation. There are some games also that have been lost to time from the code being lost. Panzer Dragoon Saga. If it weren't for emulation, nobody'd be able to play that. Isn't it fucked? So, yeah. Digital is a great option, but you shouldn't make it your main source of getting games. I get it. Game Pass, for example, is great. PlayStation Premium is garbage. But even then, you don't own the games. So, is it worth it? Is it worth paying a yearly subscription for something that you might only play a few games on, versus you actually going out to get the game that you will own for years to come, and you'll be able to sell on the aftermarket to get some money back, which those companies don't want you to do? Unless we have a way to trade in games digitally for some credit back so we can buy a different game, I don't see it being better than physical whatsoever. Anyway, that's enough of a long tangent for now. I don't really have much to say with physical other than, or digital versus physical. If you trust these companies with these licenses, go right ahead. But I certainly as hell do not trust them with it. Because, again, look at, for example, PT. They took that away from us. How could they do such a thing? But anyway, that's all I have to say on the subject of this. And I'll be seeing you guys next time. Farewell.